Hello? Sorry? Excuse me? Can I have the attention of everybody? Well, first of all, welcome to the Learning from Leaders Conference. The Learning from Leaders conferences at EU Business School started 6 years ago. And we were right in the middle of the COVID. And we wanted to offer the possibility to our students to get to learn from the best. And therefore, we have been trying to invite different CEOs, and it's a mix of online and on-site conferences that we have been organizing since then. The speaker of today, we had the privilege to have him as commencement speaker at the commencement ceremony in 2024, addressing the graduating class of 2024. It was one of the best speeches I heard at the time. So be prepared to have a lot of learning, try to get inspired, and throughout the conference, be focused, get something out of it, and don't hesitate after to network as well. We have Mr. Sayegh, Senior Vice President of Global Product Supply at Procter Gamble, that has given some part of his precious time to come and talk to you. And he will be interviewed by Mr. Peter Vanham, who is at the start of the Learning from Leaders at EU Business School, and he will be facilitating the conference. After that, we will have a 5-minute break, and we will continue with a second speaker that I will introduce afterwards. So please give a round of applause to welcome Mr. Sayegh and Peter Vanham. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, hello, and welcome. It's good to see everyone again, and thank you, Faris, for being here.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, everyone.
You know, I have to say, we started this, as Luc said, 5 years ago, online, and it was actually rather nice because, you know, everybody was at the time forced to stay at home, and we did it all online so that people could still learn from leaders. But I have to say now, Faris, to be here on this stage with all of you in such a beautiful location, it is something else. That's nice. Now, for you, Faris, we are going to talk about what it is that you do and your vision for companies and for careers and all of that. But first, I want to start, because we're here in Geneva, you know, you will get to know the students later on. They come from all over the world. But you live right here, don't you?
I do.
So maybe you came walking?
So first, let me say I'm really delighted to be here. If you have asked me some 35 years ago or 36 years ago when I finished school, like hopefully you do soon, will I be sitting here to address you? I would have not even dreamt of it. So it's really humbling to be here this afternoon, and hopefully the engagement will be of give you what many other people during my life stages and career has given me. So hopefully today it will be informal. Any question that comes to your mind, and I'm sure Peter will do the same, I'll do my best to share it with you.
Yeah, and we're going to get questions from the audience, of course, later on in this conversation. But we're going to start with this little fireside chat. Even though there is no fire, we could use a little bit of fire. It's cold outside. But Faris, you're of course here, and it's not a coincidence that you're here. Not because we are actors in a play or so. No, you're here because you work for a company that has major operations here, and I think that we all know P&G. But what we maybe not know is just the extent of how big a company P&G really is. Could you just tell us a few brands that any of us might know from around the world that P&G produces?
Indeed, indeed. You asked me before, how did I get here?
Yes, I did, yes.
Okay. So I've been here 20 years in reality. Came to Geneva through my current company, Procter Gamble, P&G. Yeah. I started there about 36 years ago.
Wow.
After I finished school, I studied in the US. And after finished school, I went to Saudi Arabia. And this is where I met P&G. I joined them there in manufacturing in one of our factories there. And from Saudi, I started moving around. So I went from Saudi to Yemen to South Africa, a second time to Saudi, then to Egypt. And I was so lucky during all those years to land here in Geneva. So I've been here exactly 20 plus years.
Wow.
Within that journey, which of course, I'll be happy to answer some of my learning as I went from one place to the other with a phenomenal family that support me in the process. You might say, okay, what does P&G do? I hope when you go in the morning to shower and you do shampoos, you use Pantene or Head & Shoulders. So that's what we do.
I use Head & Shoulders, it's great.
That's why your hair looks brilliant. And we have a lot of product. If you brush your teeth, it's either Oral-B or Crest in the US. If you clean your clothes, it will be Tide or Ariel. If you do your dishes, it will be Fairy in Europe or Gain in the US. If you have babies, it will be Pampers.
Oh yes, I'm probably one of your biggest customers right now with 2 babies that are in Pampers.
The best product. And for ladies, we do feminine protection, Always, and Tampax. And then I can go on. We have a lot of products. Gillette for the gentlemen here who shave. Hopefully you do Gillette or Braun electric razor. So it's quite a diverse product.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I guess you touch people's lives around the world every day, it sounds like. What does that add up to? Like, what's the size of the company in terms of the number of employees, in terms of the revenue that it has?
What I share with you is publicly available. We are north of $80 billion sale, about 100,000 employees. We operate in more than 150 plus countries, so quite a vast. It's a company that started in 1837, so over 180 plus years now.
And I suppose, I'm going to take a wild guess here, I suppose it was started by a certain Mr. Procter Gamble.
There were 2 gentlemen. One is Mr. Procter and the other one is Mr. Gamble. And they started from a soap and a candle to become today the largest FMCG company in the world and in our industry.
Our previous guest, Paul Bilke from Nestle, is not going to like to hear that you're the biggest one. But and neither is Paul Polman, who has also been here from Unilever. But we're very honored. And of course, Faris, we want to talk a little bit about the company, but we mostly want to learn from your journey as an individual at the company. Now, I do have to ask you about your title, because I am very impressed by your title. I'll be honest with you. You seem like you're very, very, very senior at the company. But I'm also not 100% sure that if I had to guess, that I could explain to someone else that it is what you do. So what is it actually you do?
Essentially, I'm into supply chain. And the way we define supply chain is what we call shelf back to supplier, or even consumer back to supplier. So as you buy Head & Shoulders, for instance, supply chain is the responsibility of procuring the material, putting them in a factory, producing them, and then put them through the logistics supply chain all the way to the store or to the distribution centers. And in between, I have responsibility for the engineering, for the quality, for planning, for strategic sourcing. So kind of an end-to-end. And in my case, I'm responsible for about 30-odd factories globally, about 12, 15,000 colleagues.
Wow.
And operate in every region around the globe.
And probably 24/7 it's running. One of the factories is running 24/7.
Most of our supply chain, we serve 5 billion consumers every day, so you can imagine.
Wow. One other way that you described to me what it is that you do is you said, if you think about the core of what a company is, what the heart of a company is, then really, the making the products is the heart of the product, of the company. And then within that, there's another heart and another core. So you're at the core of the company. Could you explain that a little further?
Well, every company that sell a product, it needs an organization to ensure that that product is available. And that product available means you need to have the talent, you need to have the technology, You need to have the right people to think around what's needed today, but what's needed in 5 and 10 years. So during COVID, in reality, many companies realized that when you're at home, you cannot market and you cannot sell.
Yeah.
That's what happened. None of us went to shop.
Some of the people that we met during COVID, I think that it was probably easy for them to meet during COVID because, you know, they were locked at home anyway. But I suppose for people like yourself who were really responsible to making sure that people keep on having food and things to care for themselves during that period of time, that might have been one of the busiest and craziest periods of your life, no?
It was the time where it tested all of us in the industry. And, you know, just to go back to, we worked from home, we lived from home. Those people in the factories had to show up every day to serve our consumers. So it was quite a testing moment for the capability, for resiliency, and this is where companies...
And you met the challenge. Fades, you know, it already appears clear to me, and I think it might appear clear to many of the students in the room, you know, what gives you a sense of purpose at a company like P&G? It sounds to me like that you know that you make the difference, you know, for hundreds of millions of people in their lives every day. Is that what attracts you to P&G?
Well, listen, you know, as I look around the audience here, hopefully many of you, you know, are about to graduate, or some of you started working, but eventually all of you will seek career, or will seek something that you have passion for. When people ask me, you know, how long you've been, and I say 36 years, and I say, how come you stay in the same place? So I'm not going to make reference to the great company I work today, but more of, if I'm in your shoes today, and I look back, what did I learn over the years? Where you will be working and where you will stay and enjoy is first the place where you see the passion in you coming out. Passion coming out, which means you wake up every morning and you say, I have passion for what I do. 36 years, I have certain passion that I continue waking up in the morning to go and do. But the most important thing, whatever you do in life, if you're not valued where you show up, if you're not looked at as a unique individual, as included, and you're not trusted to show that you can deliver at peak, if that is not available for wherever you go, you shouldn't stay in it. And the reason I stayed for the past 36 years where I am is every morning I wake up, I knew I'm going to go into a work environment where between my colleagues, between the people that I belong to, between my bosses, I felt all the time valued, I felt all the time included, I felt all the time trusted to perform at my best, which what I called in my words, the VIP thing, which is not VIP as very important person, quite an arrogant acronym. VIP for V for valued, I for included, and P for performing at peak. And every time you've got that recipe, you stay.
So, you know, you're now, of course, at a position in the company where you can basically lead on that. You can make sure that there's a culture in which people are valued and they are included. Now, of course, when you started your career, much like the students in the room are going to start their career very soon, you know, you were not in such a position, and you were almost like a taker of a corporate culture where, you know, you might be valued and included, but you might also not be. You just talked a little bit about this, but is that also something where you then feel, if you have it, that's a great reason to stay and to build a career for 36 years, and if you don't have it, then maybe it's better to go somewhere else?
It happened that, you know, I joined a company that breathe every day what we call PVP, principle, values, and purpose, that was put there since day one from the early family of Procter Gamble. They would do the honest thing no matter what. And that honest thing turned out to be what we call today purpose, the principle, and the value. Now, if it happened that you join a company and you show up every day, and that honest thing, you don't see it, you don't feel it, it's not in every decision and every walk, why would you want to stay in such a place? But at the same time, you might also go to places where maybe they're early days, they're early startup, and many of you are anxious to go into startup. Each and every one of you can create around you a vibe of being valued, being included, and performing at peak. You will be one day leading other people. You can bring that to life in the way you treat others.
At any level in an organization?
At any level. Now, of course, there are big companies. Sometimes you say, I cannot change maybe the culture. It's a choice if you want to stay in Iraq. My personal journey has taught me that you should never trade anything in life if you're not valued, if you're not included, and if you're not trusted to give your best.
The other element that you talked about is passion, right? You have a passion for what you do. It's something that we almost always hear, right? We always hear this from leaders who say, follow your passion is like our number one advice that we hear at the U Business School. But Fares, like I'm not sure if we're going to ask now, all the students, how many people are passionate about running a factory, how many that would be, but it's likely that maybe not too many people have that idea in mind as being their passion today. And, was it for you then that was the case, or you discover that your passion was to sort of be deep in the operations of a major company?
Peter, great question, because when I joined university, I studied engineering. I honestly did not know what will be the job after I graduate. And it happened that I started in construction in an oil field for a year. You tell me why. Okay, engineer, I got a job offer, I went to Saudi. A year later, I knew about P&G through a friend, and I applied. I wanted to change. And I found myself on a factory floor. Never thought in my life I'm going to be in manufacturing or in supply chain. But it triggered something in me that it's kept me going. It's not only about the technology, which I'm fascinated about. It's not about today the digital world we're in, the data, the artificial intelligence, which is I love, I'm learning every day. It was about the people. It's about if you're put in a responsible situation, the impact you can make on others is humongous. And you start looking at individual beyond only that person. That person has got also other people depending on them. And I felt from day one, that's what I love to do, is to be part of teams. And eventually, with the work I've done, I grew to find myself year after year leading bigger teams. And that's the passion that keeps me going.
It's really interesting, I find, because you said you're an engineer by training, and you spend, of course, a lot of, and we'll talk about the sort of the journey of your career in a little bit, but you spend a lot of time in your career in factories, on floors, really working with machines, optimizing processes, and that all makes a lot of sense. You're working with technology, you're working with machinery, but what I find remarkable is that a lot of what you say is about people. We think that things are about technology, but in reality, they're still about people. Talk to us a little bit more about another aspect that I know you have quite a clear vision on, which is the role of AI, artificial intelligence, going forward. This is like the most hyped thing I think that we've ever experienced. What do you see as the role of AI, and can you relate that back to your perspective of technology versus humans?
Listen, you're in the 21st century. Can you raise your hand if you have used any artificial intelligence tools in the past 1 week, such as a question to ChatGPT? Wow. It's amazing.
Who's that one person that said no?
No, but in any setting, and more so with this fantastic young generation, but even with my generation, we're all using digital. Actually, our iPhone is becoming part of us, right? We Google things, we open app. So this is technology, Peter.
Yeah.
So whatever you do today at university or later at work, you'll need to embark on digital capability, on what we call AI is an umbrella. AI, you can say data analytics or machine learning. Everybody needs it. You cannot succeed in today's world with all the differentiation that come your way, with all the technology that you will touch. You will have to embrace, otherwise you will be left behind. You'll have to embrace technology.
Right,
but here's the thing. Here's the thing, Peter. I lose sleep sometime over how much people talk about AI. And what I call AI, and again, I'm very positive on AI, it amplifies human intelligence. So if people have got a high IQ, AI will bring the IQ even one step higher. But here's where I'm losing sleep, is there is abundance of IQ, but scarcity of EQ. And if you play with these words, you say, first, what are you talking about? IQ is a definition of intelligence. In this room, if we add the IQ, we will blow off the ceiling. You're all smart, otherwise you would not have been sitting here. But what I learned over my 3+ decades, IQ alone doesn't take you that far. You need to bring that emotional intelligence, that care, sincere care of people around you. And more importantly, EQ is about having that self-awareness of what you say, what you do, how it impacts others. And those people with high EQ are the people who create an environment around them where everyone feels valued, everyone feels included, and everyone sees that he or she is trusted to perform at peak. And when you do that, you can then create technology, you can create machine learning, you can create AI. So at the heart of the big learning, honestly, after so many years being, I work in so many cultures with so many bright people, I always observed in the room leaders with very high IQ versus leaders with very high EQ. Trust me, the people with high EQ tend to deliver by far higher result than the people who have only IQ. You need them both. But if the balance is IQ is by far higher than EQ, yes, you can create the next big innovation for a while, but you need people with you in that journey.
Right. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about your journey as it started, like the journey is starting for all the people in the room here. So you already alluded to it briefly. You were born in Lebanon, and then you left at the age of 19. You said you left to go and study abroad. In your case, abroad was the United States, right?
Yeah.
Where did you study? In which country, which city, or which region?
I landed in Washington, D.C. I lived there for 4 years. I did my studies there, and this is when I left to Saudi.
Now, I find this fascinating because, without revealing your age, you have been around for a while, and so, getting that first job was quite a few years ago. Now, today, I know a lot of people from all kinds of places. They get job offers to go to Saudi Arabia, but that was maybe not the case, a few decades ago. Let's put it that way. What made you decide to go from Lebanon to the U.S. and then from the U.S. to Saudi Arabia? What are the criteria that you made, and which one would you recommend to the students when they consider their future if they go from Geneva to perhaps, is it the Middle East? Is it Asia? Do they stay in Europe?
Peter, it was, I don't know, when you're young, you always have those dreams about certain places and certain location, and U.S. fascinated me all those years that I want to go live there and study there. And I did. So I applied, I got accepted, I went there. But it happened that during that period, I was dating my current wife, who we met in high school, okay? So for 40 years, we've been together like day one. And I wanted a job in reality for us to get together. So I was willing to go anywhere after university, and I found a job in Saudi. And why Saudi? Again, some of those illusions in those days, Saudi was the oil place, and you think you can go there and wow, the growth rate. I was happy to go there, but happier because also I met P&G. And this is where I started my career. But the driving force, frankly, of the US is passion in this big country that will offer a lot. I liked it, huge experience, different culture to mine, learned a lot. But then went to Saudi because I want to be with my wife, or at least my future wife, who's today my wife. And then we started our life there, and we brought 3 kids to life, and they're beautiful. And
I don't know if I'm revealing too much, but you shared earlier that you've become a grandfather just recently. Congratulations.
7 weeks ago, I became a grandfather, and I am the youngest grandfather in the universe.
Congratulations. That's great, and it's beautiful, of course, as a story, but I think it's also a lesson for all of us that we are all having international careers. We are all coming from all kinds of countries. Now in Geneva, we might go somewhere else in the world, and we can follow our sense of adventure, but we should never forget that at the end of the day, you as a human, you also need family, and that's an important aspect of life too. The other important aspect is to find the company that suits you. You already talked a little bit about that. Now, 36 years is a long time. You're passionate, you said that. You felt that they respected you. You felt included and valuable. Were you always set to sort of become senior vice president and high-ranking executive at P&G? What drove you all those years?
Never, Peter. Honestly, never. And you might say, how come you're not ambitious? All of us are ambitious. But frankly, from day one, when I went into this huge company, you feel at the beginning intimidated by saying, my God, it's so big, okay? And we had like these levels in the place I'm in. The plant manager was like the big guy, the very powerful guy. Never thought I would be the plant manager one day. I thought maybe if I go one level up in the hierarchy will be good enough. But then what I learned, and this is what I tell my young recruits when they come to our company, and what I tell you, you do the best in what you are doing today. You focus on the best. You make a difference. And if you're well surrounded, people will observe you, will watch you, will pick you up. That was, for me, the case. I never thought I'm going to be, in those days, we call them team manager. When you come from university, you have a small team. You're responsible for them as an engineer in shift on a factory floor. Maybe when you get promoted a few years later, you're the department manager, so you have more than the operation. You have the maintenance next to it. A few years later, you're an operation manager, and so on and so on. I never really thought, okay, I'm going to do this or that. Never. I just came every day with something to make a difference. Make a difference on producing good quality product, making a difference by coaching a young colleague, making a difference to uphold the standard. But along the way is the humility of never take yourself seriously. You mentioned my title.
Exactly.
I don't remember, my title. I don't, of course I take my job seriously, but I never take the title seriously because it's not the title you're given. It's how you earn what you do every day.
Yeah.
So no, I never imagined I'll be sitting with you today with this title some 36 years ago. I swear.
It's very
never.
nice, though, to be here, and we're very happy that you're here. Now, I know that there's a lot of questions from the audience, too, so I want to make sure we get to those. Why don't we see if there's any questions, and can we get a microphone up so that you can all stand up, say who you are, and then ask your questions. Let's start. We're trying to see you. There's a question right here in the front, and then one there in the back.
Excellent.
We'll maybe take the 2 questions here up front, and then we'll go to the back. Is there a microphone or not? There we go. So we'll start here in the front, the 2 young men.
Afternoon. My name is Anderson. I'm doing my MBA.
What's your name, sorry?
Anderson.
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 Thank you for taking your time to talk to us today, Mr. Sarah and Peter. My question is revolving around crisis management. How does P&G...
About?
Crisis management.
Crisis management.
How does P&G handle the disruptions when it comes to supply chain, as it can happen anywhere around the world, depending on any circumstance? And what lessons have endured through what you guys have learned then?
Excellent. And we'll also get the second question already in, and then we'll listen to Faris' responses.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, first of all, thank you for giving this amazing speech. My question is more related with the mega trend of AI that's been happening in the past years, and how Procter & Gamble is implementing that, especially in the supply chain management area. Yeah, is that basically?
Excellent. What was your name?
Nicholas.
Nicholas.
So Nicholas, the first part, you were referring to mega trends, did you say?
Yeah, the mega trend of AI and how you're implementing that in Procter & Gamble, especially in the supply chain.
Excellent. Now, I will say, Faris told me that he was willing to talk about anything, but he did say that today, specifically today, Faris, you said, I'm not going to reveal any company secrets.
No.
Too bad.
I will not, because whatever is public you can. But I'll make a general reference to what you're saying, and
then also the crisis management.
Yeah, of course. And it's not about P&G per se, but just think if any company today, you need to be in touch with the environment you're in. That's the most important. Any short and long term strategy needs for whatever company to be in touch and awareness of what's happening at the consumer level and what's happening at the macro level and what is their vision. The most important thing is you know what you're serving and you know where you want to be. Those are very two fundamental. And what we call it, by the end of the day, is every company has to deliver on a job to be done. I'm hoping you will find it in one of the courses because this is a general word, a job to be done. Every company has got a job to be done. My job to be done to the consumer is deliver a product that cleans their clothes. So she has a job to be done. I have to deliver a solution for the job to be done. So that's first and most important. Once you understand what's a job to be done, then you need to understand what resource do you need, what investment you have to put for, what kind of people and skill set you need, what technology. But then you need to anticipate what can go wrong. So for instance, for all of us in the industry, all of us, being a hotel, a restaurant, or my company, or any other company, none of us went through pandemic in our life stage. My grandfather would used to tell us about the pandemic in the 19th century. And for us as kids, we will never link to it. 2020, we all woke up to something called COVID. What did it tell us? That some companies were not prepared for that. Actually, it's very funny. I had some friends who were not prepared to work from home because their company did not have the IT infrastructure to have people overnight go with their PC open, connect on Microsoft Teams or on Zoom. Other companies, because they're multinational, because they're broad-based, it was natural that the next day we switch on our computers and we can operate. So long story to a very good question. You need to know what's the job to be done. You need to understand what it takes. You need to be connected to the environment. And you need to say, what's the worst case scenario in my industry that I need to be ready for? And to answer both, by the way, in terms of the mega trend, in terms of the mega trend, for instance, consumer habit is changing today. Some people will today no longer go to a retail store shop. So as a company, you need to adapt to do more of digital commerce. So on. So the mega trend means you need to have people who will always ask the question, what will be disrupted tomorrow? and be ahead of other people who will not ask those questions. And that will be the point of difference, to compete, to lead, and to win.
It's a very interesting answer because, we did talk about AI already earlier on. And, you related back to what is our company's job to be done. And if the job to be done, as you said, is to make sure that, for example, I as a father can do the laundry of my kids, then if any AI tool can help you do that job, then great. But if not, then you're not going to get involved in anything with AI because it doesn't help you do your job, right? So now, if you start a whole new company, would you still say that applies? Would you say, you get a look at what job do you want to do, what is the need of society that you want to solve, and then decide whether you want to use AI with that? Or is it okay when you do a startup that you just say, well, listen, we've got this very powerful tool, AI, and let's just see what job it can do?
Yeah. Peter, I cannot today think of any company that would not need some level of digital, because the word AI, artificial intelligence, has got element under it, right? So we use it as an umbrella to many things. You will need to use some of it at one point in time, depending where are you in your business. But any business, a restaurant today, you can argue they should be using data analytics, and you say, what's data? It's part of all the AI thing. You need to understand your consumer need, who's coming more, who likes more your dish, what dish is selling more. This is data.
Right.
So I would say any business in today's world, to be on the edge, would require some level of data learning, some machine learning, some automation. Some of us grew up on, I would say a word, none of you will know what I'm talking about. Lotus 123. Go Google it. It's in the museum. It's the one before Excel sheet. And some do not know anymore what's an Excel sheet. And I can go on and on and on.
That's
so
terrible.
it's all the sophistication of what's needed in the world.
That makes sense. We had a question in the back, and if there's any other question you want to raise your hand, we can take a second question. Yeah, maybe the lady over there to the right. So if we can bring the microphone to the lady over there and the gentleman in the back.
Hello, my name is Wendy, and thank you for being here.
Hi, Wendy.
And congratulations on being the youngest grandfather, like you said.
Thank you.
So you mentioned something about VIP, and one of the characteristics about it is performance. So it's about people trusting that you can deliver you those solutions whenever they need. So my first question will be, how do you overcome the doubts? Because I know that's not an easy position to be in. How much does EQ is important in all of that? And maybe some tips and advices on how we can enhance or increase our EQ. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very good question.
And we're going to take the second question also in the back there.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Shang Ling, and the question I want to ask is that as a person that's not in the industry, I find that the situation of homogenization, which means that there are many similar products in the market, this situation has been stronger and stronger. So in this case, I want to ask how P&G counter this question, or are there any innovations that has been done to develop their target, or just stay there to solely the target market to stable the share? Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Shirley, maybe I'll try to reconfirm a bit what you asked, but maybe I got it. But I'll go back to the question about, how do you let people do the thing that you want to trust them for? First, it starts by ensuring you bring people with the right attitude, and you help them to develop certain skill and experiences. In all companies, they've got their own way to recruit, to train, and so on. So the starting point is you need to provide the platform for people. They come in, they have the desire. Desire is the most important. In the old days, there used to be 3 letters that stuck with me in one of my early training when I was younger. I used to call it KSA. It's not Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It is K for knowledge, S for skills, and A for attitude. Knowledge, you take it with time. You learn, you study, you get skills, you learn certain skills, you demonstrate them. The A for attitude is about desire. The desire to wake up in the morning and do the best you want to do. The desire to show up and be on the whole day. It's a desire. So once you have that desire, then any company should equip the people with that knowledge and skill. So that's a framework. If you do that, and you hire very good people, and they're coming with a beautiful desire and attitude to really want to do a great job, they want to win, they want to perform, they want to make an impact. Therefore, you have to let them do what they believe they can offer. But of course, with experience, you need to balance a bit the risk. You need to give them, to offer them risk, but at the same time, not to handicap them. Because I find today a lot of the young colleagues, they know by far more than I know, even with all my experience. They're more digitally savvy, they're quicker of getting data than I used to get, and so on. So that's the one part of your question. The second part, you can go online. There are a lot of companies that today train on EQ. I used to believe many years ago that EQ is something you're born with. That you have a family, the way you're born, you have EQ, you're kind of sensitive. In reality, it can be learned. It can be learned. There are certain characteristics for EQ that can be learned. Being self-aware, so there are a lot of learning. You can Google it, and you can do. But if you ask me, listening, sincerely listening, before you speak, before you jump to a conclusion, listening to really want to sincerely understand what the other person in front of you is doing, before you jump and you say, no, you're wrong, it is the number one quality of EQ. Because once you listen to understand, you're really trying to bridge, and you're really trying to understand how you can help. That's number one. And the second one, people who are open for feedback. The more people are open for feedback and relaxed, and every feedback they take it as a gift, and they do something with it, those score 10 out of 10 on EQ, because they want to improve rather than want to defend. That's EQ.
Very good. And then in the back, we had a question, I think, about...
I think I go back. Maybe I understand the question, and apologies if maybe I missed part of it. Being us as a company or anybody else, I go back to the job to be done. You gain share or you grow your business by delivering on the job to be done better than anybody else. So you buy a car because you have certain need that this car will give you. And if they deliver on the job you want it to be done for you, you buy a product that you like at home to solve for you a problem. Then if I do another product that doesn't give you the same solution to the job to be done, then you're going to buy this product, you're not going to buy mine. So the companies who innovate around exactly understanding what is the job to be done are the companies that will succeed in no matter what industry. Okay.
Excellent. I think we'll have time for 2 more questions. So let's see if we'll get some more. Here in the middle, we have a question, and here in the front.
We also had a question upstairs, actually, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah. We have the balcony there.
Just so there's still a
great.
balcony upstairs.
Yeah, wow, this is great. Well, we'll start with the person upstairs, and then we'll come to downstairs again.
Hello, and thank you for coming. My question was, what has been your most challenging experience as a leader in supply chain, and how did you overcome this?
Excellent. Do you want to just share your name so we know who you are?
My name is Nayara.
Is?
Nayara.
Nayaris. What has been my largest challenge?
We'll go there.
I've got few. I got quite few. But the most recent one, maybe COVID. Maybe COVID. And that was the biggest challenge, that overnight, the world came to a complete stop. In supply chain, there is nothing called stop. You need to continue producing and supplying. Right. That was the largest challenge. Because you wake up in the morning and they will tell you everything cannot be moving around, people cannot go to the street, but you still need to deliver your product. People wanted to clean. You know, people wanted to eat. People wanted to have their necessity. I think the companies who did better than others are the companies who had great people that can deliver in any context. And we called it, are we winning in any context?
But how did you do it? Because, you know, I remember that time, and it was really scary. And for a big part, you know, you had maybe a week or 2 weeks, but then really everything was off. You couldn't get anything in or out. You know, people had to go home. So what were the crucial steps that you took at that time to make sure that the things kept running?
Many companies who really did better than others are companies who had their infrastructure in place, i.e. their technology in place, they have capabilities in place.
And so it's about foresight.
It is foresight. You know, I think challenges can be an opportunity to show you can do better, or challenges will test you to fail because you were not ready for.
Yeah. Now, I spoke to a lot of companies also that have operations in like countries that have recently been war-torn. Ukraine, you know, we talk about Lebanon, you know, other countries. You know, when something like that happens, now you really cannot prepare for that, right? What do you do in such a situation? Like, there was no way, you're the best prepared leader ever, but you're just confronted with something that you couldn't prepare for. What do you do?
Again, who from us would have dreamt COVID will happen?
Right.
None of us.
But your foresight existed in scenario planning then, or what was that?
I think you answered it correctly. Scenario planning is number one, because you will always be faced, if not pandemic, maybe a war, maybe a tariff war, a trade war between China and the West.
Funny that you mentioned that.
Exactly, it happened.
So you make those scenarios. I want to make sure, Faris, that because we had a few more questions, I'm going to ask, you can ask your question. There was one here and then also one person there. We're going to take all three of them, even though we only have 3 minutes left, Faris. So we're going to listen to all three questions, and then it's your challenge to do a rapid fire answering.
The most challenging thing to answer in 3 minutes.
Go on.
Okay, so my name is Mark. I first off want to thank you for being here this evening. And so my question to you is, I never really pass up a chance to learn from people who are more experienced than me, which is why I want to know what has taught you most in life, your successes or your failures. Because for me personally, I believe failure is probably the better teacher. It's a lot more cruel, but I can tell you any lesson I've learned from failure, I have learned it well.
Wow, amazing question.
You answered the question, but
yeah,
I will elaborate.
That's true as well. And then we had here, and then the lady in the middle, yeah.
Oh, hello, my name is Alejandro, I'm from Mexico. And very quickly, I once heard the speech that you gave in the graduation ceremony about EQ. I really found a lot of value in that, and it made me reflect, because especially like it's learning from leaders, right? So what advice would you give to aspiring, I guess, leaders in dealing with other human beings besides EQ? Because I think EQ is a skill, of course, like you said. But I once heard a quote that says that leaders are, the greatest leaders are obsessed with leadership, and they're always thinking about leadership. Is that true for you? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And one more person. There was the lady, I think, in the middle. You're fine? You're fine? Okay, then we'll take the question from that gentleman. And then we really have to go. So success or failure, you know, go ahead.
So my question today, as a successful businessman, well, we talked about AI and everything. My question is about like Bitcoin and NFTs. Have you invested yourself into these things, or are you more of a traditional investor like real estate and cars? Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Let me see quickly how to get it. First, you answer the question correctly. You learn a lot from failures, but also you should learn from success and ask yourself, was this success by coincidence or by design? That's another thing, because sometimes you're successful. You say, is it by luck or by design? So also from good success, to double down on it, can I repeat it? And of course, from failure, because if you fail once, it's okay. If you fail twice, it's not okay for the same thing. You can fail as many times for different things, but for the same thing, I will always tell people, if you don't learn from the first time, it's fine. If you don't learn from the second time, maybe it's not okay. For leadership, the best leadership is being an obsessed servant leadership. Because the way I look at the organization chart, it's an inverted organization chart. Usually organization chart, you have the boss at the head of the chart and the people down. The best organization chart is when the leader is at the bottom serving their people. And we call it servant leadership. That's the best leadership. Okay? And for investment, I would not have been sitting here if I bought Bitcoin 10 years ago. So I'm a traditional investor.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you for answering all of the questions from the students, my questions as well, and really for just sharing your wisdom with us today. Thank you, Fares, and a big round of applause from us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. And then, Fares, I'm going to let you go, and I'm also going to let the students know that right now we'll do a little switch over. I know that there's a few students that need to get to a next class and a few students that are waiting to get inside. So if you're one of those students, feel free now to do so. And for everybody else, we've got our next guest coming up in just a few minutes, so don't go anywhere. If you want to just take a breather, talk a little bit with your neighbor about what you learned, go ahead. But in about 5 minutes, we'll get started again. Thank you. See you soon. Excellent. Yeah, no, great. Well done. Well, no, for sure, for sure.
Can I ask everybody to go back to their seat, please, so that we can welcome our second speaker. Okay, so our second speaker, we have the pleasure to welcome Miss Nicola Moussourou. She's the Vice President HR, Global Country HR of HP Enterprise. It has been amazing learnings that we have heard from Fares. I'm pretty sure that you will be receiving equivalent learnings from Nicola. After the session, you're all invited in the foyer where there will be some food and some appetizers and some drinks for you to continue the conversations on the learning we had. Please give a round of applause for Nicola and Peter.
Well, welcome back, and welcome to the second half of this Learning from Leaders conference. We're very happy indeed to welcome Nicola. Nicola, I got to start with the same question as for Fares. You work for a global company. You're going to tell us where you're from, but you also came from not too far today, did you?
Yes, that's true. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I just came from Meyran. We have our headquarters very close to the airport. I think that's was a strategic decision of the company to have us located there because the job requires a lot of traveling. So it's a motivator.
But you are also based in Geneva.
Yes, I am based here, and I have been here 13 years now.
Oh, amazing. I mean, it's nice for us to know because, of course, students come from all over the world and study business. There's a lot of business in Geneva and in Switzerland, but we don't always know that they're here. And so for HPE, it is an important regional headquarters, or what is the function that's based here?
Yes, so traditionally, many years now, because Hewlett Packard and Hewlett Packard Enterprise have been founded for decades, for Europe, the headquarters were here in Geneva. Now we do have other headquarters also in the Netherlands, and we have large locations with hubs and competency centers in a number of places in Europe. Also locations like Ireland, we have in Poland, in Romania, in Bulgaria, but the headquarters for international roles are mainly located here.
Excellent. And we'll talk a little bit at the end of the conference about how maybe students can also consider HPE as a place to build their career. I want to start, though, with a question. I know, this shows again how old I am. I know HP mostly as the Hewlett Packard that makes printers and laptops. But, I think a few years ago, this company that I knew basically was split into two, into HP, Hewlett Packard, that still makes those printers and laptops, and then Hewlett Packard Enterprise, which is the company that you work for. Tell us a little bit about what it is that you do and what happened there.
Thank you. So it is true, I work for the green HPE, and that's how we differentiate. So Hewlett Packard in 2015, because it had become really enormous and it was driving many different businesses and technologies, there was the decision to split the company in two. And so the HP that you know and makes your printer and your workstation and your laptop is the blue HP that you all know, and it is basically with the commercial products. And Hewlett Packard Enterprise is the green one. We have a rectangle as our logo. And it is all about computing, it's about servers, it's about AI now, it's about the cloud. So we offer enterprise solutions to our customers. We do not offer a solution to you, Peter. Sorry for that. And our customers are mainly large enterprises and organizations that need this type of very high-tech, I would say, solutions going forward. Now, when we did that split, because I had the expertise in managing larger organizations, I was offered the job to stay with Hewlett Packard Enterprise because we had to manage the resources when we did the split.
You had to choose, I suppose.
Yeah.
So of the company that you now work for, how big is that company? How many employees? How many
So Hewlett Packard Enterprise operates in 57 different countries. We have more than 60,000 employees globally.
Wow.
And it is a Fortune 500 company, and we run a business of approximately 30 billion a year.
I mean, it's such the numbers are almost incomprehensible, right? Like, so these are really, really large global enterprises that you work for. Now, I do want to talk about one more thing about HP and its origin story before we turn to I'm going to ask you questions about AI because Fares said, you know, that's not part of my job to be done, but you mentioned it up front. But before we do, you know, Hewlett Packard, the way I understand it, is also very special in terms of the role that it played in creating Silicon Valley that we know today.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. Tell us about the origin story.
Mm-hmm. So that's quite an exciting story, and we do have it on video when we onboard new people to the company, and I always watch it with a lot of admire because Hewlett and Packard founded HP in 1939 in a garage in Silicon Valley. So they were the founders of Silicon Valley. And there are many names that also joined Dave and Bill at the time. Look at Steve Jobs, for example. That was one of his first jobs. Or other people you know from other companies now, Google and everything, joined HP in Silicon Valley. So you could say that it was the first startup that ever existed. And they started very little, with very little steps, and their first customer was actually Disney at the time.
Wow. I mean, it's really cool, I find, because, you know, I think we all heard these stories of like the garage startups of Silicon Valley. And I know that some business schools, like for example, ESADE in Spain, they actually sort of made a mock-up of that,
Mm-hmm.
where they incubate new startups in like a garage of Silicon Valley. But so this is not sort of a myth. This is a real story.
I've been there and I took a picture of myself in front of it, so it exists. That is true.
And that's the garage of the father or the mother or the parents of one of the two gentlemen, Hewlett or Packard.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And I mean, I find that fascinating also because it tells you that, you know, today we look at Silicon Valley, it's such a, you know, when we think about big tech, when we think about power, when we think about sort of like really, really the biggest companies in the world, we think about Silicon Valley, and we think that it's also always been there, but in reality, it wasn't always there. No. It started in 1939. Thank you for sharing that story, Nicola. Now, okay, we got to now talk about AI. Okay, so Fares told us, and I think it made a lot of sense. He said, you know, you got to think about what's the job to be done, and if it's not part of the job to be done, you know, then, you know, don't make such a big deal out of AI. Now, I gotta believe that you think slightly differently about that. How important is artificial intelligence at HPE, and what role does it actually play in the company?
Yeah. So I'll start a step just before that. So Hewlett Packard Enterprise is a company that has all the technology. We have the servers, we have the blade servers, we have the computing, we have the software, we have the networking, and we have all the skills and technical capabilities that go around in supporting this technology. And what happened with the evolution of things, with the cloud, with artificial intelligence, it became very apparent that we were best positioned to start concentrating on this evolution. because we have what we call all the metal, we have all the boxes. We just needed to add on top all the supercomputing, the AI, and all the software that every company needs for this purpose. So let me give you an example of a customer we have, and so the team here can understand what we're talking about. So I guess you all, or most of you, know about Formula One, and probably you watch Formula One, and you know about Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton and George Russell now driving and competing for Formula One. One of our best and first partnerships was with Formula One several years ago, because we were able to give them on the pit there live a mobile data center, a mini data center, where in seconds they can analyze the data of every round the driver goes round the pit. And what would happen in the past when they didn't have this technology and this computing and data analysis capability, they wouldn't be able to analyze this live. Now they analyze it in a split second, and when the driver is on the pit, they can correct their course live. So the AI and the data analysis that then produces you the AI, because it's the data behind it, and the capability to analyze the data is what AI is all about. We have another example where we have provided to NASA a server that we customize so they can take it to their space station. Why is that important? Because otherwise they would need to have the data on the ground, use satellites to transfer the data, analyze them, and send them back to space. Right. And so the technology that comes with all these capabilities then allows all this data analysis in nanoseconds, right? The load of data, we're talking about quantities, huge, yeah. Right? And then this allows AI to be produced in a way. Yes. I'm trying to simplify a little bit.
No, but it's fascinating, and I think it shows, if I use the same frame that Fares used, which said you got to think about what is the job to be done. You know, you've given now examples of companies and applications where the job to be done was about speed and about insight.
It was efficiency, it is time, is investment, is how quickly and how also you can do all of this with security, because the data you analyze, the quantity and the speed you analyze it, gives you also the security that you need, that you're doing the right things.
Yeah. Now, what I find an interesting sort of juxtaposition is that while Fares was an engineer, you know, he said that in reality he was focused so much about people. And now you've been talking about technology, but your background is actually in people. You're an HR officer.
That's true.
Tell us what it is that you do and at HP and HPE, I should say.
So my job is to ensure that in every country we operate, so every single employee, team member of these 60,000 team members is able to work in an environment that is inclusive, it is inspiring, it is productive, that they have the tools and everything they need to be able to be successful in their job.
Yeah.
And to do that, I have a team of almost 200 people spread in every country globally. And we partner with other HR functions internally that design programs, that bring us the technology that HR needs, systems, tools, processes. Right. And what we ensure is that all of this is deployed in the country and it reaches every single employee in a way that it motivates them to come to work every day and get out of bed.
Because, of course, the talent also matters greatly.
Absolutely.
You operate in a sector where obviously the competitive advantages, the solutions that you can offer, which you said often rely on the latest technologies, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, and so on and so forth. But it's still, of course, humans who make those technologies, and there's a real war for talent.
Yeah.
And so it's really important that a company like yours, while its competitive advantages in technology, actually the way that it gets there is by getting the best people.
Yes. And it's not only getting the best people, is making sure that your best people continue to be inspired, motivated, but continue to grow and learn and develop. Because especially, I would say every industry is like this, but especially a high-tech industry, you cannot say, I know it all and I've learned everything, and you have to move on. Technology moves on. The knowledge, the skills, the capabilities you need to have, if you want to stay current and you want to continue having a successful job, you need to learn every single day.
Tell me about how that sort of works. So I would assume, that we've heard it in the room. Everybody here uses AI every day, or at least every week. Now, I'm a little bit older than the students, and you're also a little bit older than the students. And if we would ask the same question to a group of people our age, then maybe they would use it every week because they just don't realize it. But it's also quite possible that they don't use it, or they don't think that they use it. They're basically behind on technology.
Mm-hmm.
So why is it then so important for a company to retain its talent rather than to say, well, we're always going to hire the younger generation because they're most up to date with technology?
Yeah. Well, I think that technology learns from us. It's not the reverse. And so the more knowledge we put in the data, the more technology becomes smarter. I have never come across in my career as an HR professional a moment where truly technology took over the job of someone. I think I would say that it required that this someone, the team member, the employee, would have to evolve their knowledge to manage better technology. And I think it's important to understand this relationship, because technology becomes smarter or is more demanding, is different skills you need to have. We need a different set of skills. All this discussion a few years ago that AI will take the jobs of people and everything, yes, it could be, but we need different jobs, different skills to grow, because statistically, and all the research shows that, yes, some jobs have evolved or there are different demands, but it is not that this happens on its own, let's say, from one day to the other.
Right.
It comes with an evolution of skills.
It's really important what you just said there, and I think it bears repeating. You said three things that really stuck with me in this answer. The one is technology learns from us, not the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very powerful, and people should really remember that, bear that in mind. The second thing is that technology doesn't take jobs from people, but people do have to make sure that they stay up to date.
Exactly.
So that they can use technology to their benefit, right? And the third thing, of course, is that that basically the reason why you want to retain people is because they have the accumulation between being up to date and the cumulative knowledge and skills that they've acquired over time, and that's a winning combination.
Exactly.
Nicola, let's talk a little bit about you now. Now, you've told us all there is to know about HPE, and thank you so much for telling us.
A fragment, I would say, but still.
Now, I've got plenty of questions for you, but I want to start with this one. Like Faris, you also are not from Geneva, but you came to Geneva. What's your background? When you were the age of the students, where were you, and what were you planning to do in life?
Okay. So, indeed, I came to Geneva 13 years ago. I've been with Hewlett Packard Enterprise, HP, and then HPE, 19 years. And actually, when I got that job, it was a dream job, because when I was doing my master's degree in human resources management in the UK, Hewlett Packard was a case study. It was something that we would do a lot of dissertations on. We would study a lot how Bill and Dave, our founders, would drive very innovative human resources management. They would invest in the talent to develop. They would have open door policy, they would evolve a culture of engagement and inspiration. They would allow people to go work for the competition and come back and bring knowledge back, or allow people to grow. So when I got that job, I was headhunted for that job. I said, wow, this is it.
It's like you get to work at the company that is sort of shown in your studies as like the example to follow. Now, that's at a moment that you already knew that you wanted to be basically an HR professional. How did you even get to that point?
I'll get to that.
Yeah.
So I grew up on a Greek island, maybe you know it, Corfu Island, and what I did, I used to sail. It was my dream to become a sailor and sail the world and live on a sailing boat. But at the time of finishing my high school and lycée, this didn't materialize. I didn't have options how to go study to be a sailing coach. And so I followed the system, I applied to universities, and I got in this business administration bachelor's degree in Athens. So I left Corfu, I moved to Athens. The first few months I didn't like it at all, so I wouldn't even attend. And then at some point I said, okay, what are you doing here? Maybe you need to finish this and see what the options are out there. So the more I invested, I started liking it, and then I got a job for 6 months, like a stage, and I know the students do practice this a lot these days. At the time, it was quite innovative to do something like that. And I was in finance. And I was doing really great, and the boss, the supervisor, was very happy with my performance in finance, but I hated it. It was horrible. I found that it wouldn't fit with my personality. I found that it was not interactive enough. As I was still offered to stay longer than 6 months because I was doing a good job. As a student and as a young person, I would go out in the evening, go work in the morning, and you would do everything that you would do at that age. But then I found out that human resources management is a new thing. And at the time in the UK, this was a big trend. And so you would find a lot of courses where you can go do a master's degree. So I finished my studies, I had my experience in finance, I knew I wanted something that is more people-oriented, and I went and did my master's degree. And this is where I got to know Hewlett Packard, but I was impressed by one of my professors during my master's degree, and he was talking about human resources consulting. And I took this as an additional module. I did some essays about it, and then I decided to do a survey in Greece and see which companies were offering this to their customers. And so I went to KPMG with my little questionnaire. I got someone to talk to someone, to talk to someone, to interview the partner at the company. And after that interview, next day they called me and they said, we have a job for you. And that's how I started my career in human resources.
But it shows also that you were yourself looking for opportunities, you pursued those opportunities, and then you made them happen. It's not just like you go after the latest trend and then hope for the best to happen. Like you really created your own opportunities.
I think the important here, and my advice is, you need to pursue the things you really like, or you think you like, and then you may find something else close to it that you would like. Because if you don't like what you're pursuing, you will not pursue it enough. So something inspires you, go search it. Something motivates you, go look into it, talk to people. And I would think that now, and that's something I teach, I try to talk to my kids about, is that all this information is so easily available. And it's so easy to go find things. It's like today, I know you are having this session not only with people in the room, but people that are not in the room here with us. So all of that makes everything so easy to grab and then you can decide what you want to do with the information. And that talks also to AI, so I think.
You know, Nicola, one of the things that strikes me about you is, you know, you're now at the pinnacle of your career, you know, like leading HR in one of the world's greatest companies, but also a company that's specifically known for being great in HR. Now, your style is, you know, you could say in English, soft-spoken. But you are really somebody who pursued vigorously sort of opportunities, who took risks, you know, really sort of went after things and got them. Tell me about that, you know, like how the style of being soft-spoken and you able to combine that with sort of that really go-getting attitude?
Well, I'll tell that to my kids, you know. I said, but
they might know you more from being the strict mom.
The truth is that when an opportunity would come in front of me, so I was working for KPMG for 5 years. I really worked hard for 5 years. It was a very tough, very demanding environment. I remember myself working all my weekends, working really late hours. At the time, that was the way to learn. It was the only tool to learn on the job. And so I worked really hard, and an opportunity came along to go work for one of my customers, as it usually happens.
Yes.
And that was a French company establishing itself in Greece, which actually now is a customer of HP, Thales Electronic Systems. And they approached me, and I said, it sounds interesting, why not? And I joined that company. It was tough at the beginning, but I grew up with a mentality that came mostly from my father, that if you put your mind to it, it's not rocket science. You will find a way to make it happen. And I haven't pursued my career in that sense. I haven't pursued, that's the next job I want. I want to be director. I want to be VP. I want to become a manager. I was pursuing to do things that I like and to work with people that appreciate me and what I can bring to the table. And this has been my North Star. And so I don't think I've ever pursued a promotion. I would do my job well, I would invest, I would care for everything I do, and then a next opportunity will come.
Yeah.
I have found myself in moments where I don't really like the scope of work, or I've had bosses that it didn't work so well. I managed to manage my boss, and then I was looking out for a next opportunity to do my best. And this is how it went.
Yeah. I'm still fascinated by this, Nicola, but thank you for sharing that story. You know, there's another part of the story, which is that you say, you know, and you go over it like it's nothing. I worked for 5 years, you know, day and night, weekends included, and I saw your sort of facial expression like I worked really hard. Like, I'm sure there's a lot inside of those 5 years that was really tough. And that maybe now you can look back in it and you can say, those were 5 years, and then came the next opportunity, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, and now I got here. But when you're in the middle of it, and you don't know that there's an end to it, and you don't know that the next step is going to be that you're going to get a new opportunity, how do you then decide to keep going?
Yeah, I think it's the learning. It's the learning and celebrating every win. So at that moment, and I practice this already today, like today, just before coming here, I'll share. I was working with my team. It's the moment of the year where we set out our priorities for the new year. And the past week, I have been working remotely, technology allows, with my leaders to decide what is our vision for this year as country HR and what would be our priorities. Where are we going to put our biggest focus? What big things we want to accomplish this year? And so we have been working on this the past few days. And just before coming here, I was able to finalize it and submit it to my boss. So the moment I pressed the send button, because this is the outcome of great work that we did, and we felt good about it, I said, yes, good for you. As if I was the younger Nicola version of me working 20 years ago. And that's, I think, something you need to carry every day. You need to celebrate the little things and take fulfillment from the things that you accomplish. And that keeps you going, because you learn, you do something new every day, you learn something new every day, and you feel that whatever will come next, you will be ready for it.
Yeah. It's I think also good advice, because there will be moments. Earlier on we had this perspective. Somebody who said there's going to be failure, and you can learn from that failure. But of course, the failure in the moment is not nice. And also, when you have to work hard, you can get success from it. But the moment that you're working hard on a weekend, well, you could be having, I don't know, a nice Greek salad and some nice drinks. Then that's not fun. But so it's basically being able to say, after the hard work comes the celebration, and that's something that can happen every week or every month, not after 5 years.
I think that, especially for younger talents here in the room, I would say that there are moments in your career or in your professional life, or now that you're studying, that there are moments that you work really hard. There are moments that you need to over-prepare for a big test, for a big exam, or for a big moment, a big presentation. I prepared to come here. I didn't come just like this. It's important,
right? We prepared.
Right?
This is true. You're
and
telling
you gave
the truth
me hard work to prepare. But the point I'm making is that it's also a long run, right? It's a marathon. So you need to be able to do the sprints, but you need also to reward yourself, recognize, and then go for the next thing and the next thing. It cannot be peak performance all the time. And that is something we learn to navigate. And then in this equation comes personal life. Exactly, you may want to go out instead of working. What do you do in that occasion? You need to prioritize, and you need, of course, to go out. You need to focus on your family, your friends, your loved ones.
Right.
That is a balance you need to strike. And everyone strikes their own balance, but it is super important to think that this is for the long term, but if you break it down into pieces, it's more manageable.
Right.
You need to go through, we have a great coach that we use, Rex Pemberton in HPE. He climbs mountains and he's been on Everest and everything. We use him as a coach. And he talks about how you start at base camp, and then you go to the next, and the next, then you acclimatize, you come back, you go again. And that's important to have in mind. Don't let a failure set you back. Take it as a learning to restart again and change direction if needed. But I think that's what gets you through a long journey at the end.
That's great. And I've often heard this expression that it's a career is a marathon, not a sprint. But Nicola, it strikes so much more as being genuine when it comes from a Greek person that actually knows.
I haven't run a real marathon though.
But you know what I mean?
And it's not on my bucket list either, I have to admit.
Because what you said about the fact that if it's a marathon, yes, you can do small sprints in the interim, but you can't do peak performance all the time. In other words, you cannot sprint a marathon.
No.
And I think the person who originally ran a marathon can confirm that, or he could have been, because he died when he arrived, because he did consider it a sprint, right? This is the original story, of marathon.
Yes.
The guy who went to warn the king. I got one more question for you, and then we're going to turn to the audience.
Sure.
I know that we talked about it earlier, that HPE, so many talents, 48,000 people today, 56 countries, and that you also have big operations here. Imagine that anyone in the room says, I'd like to actually be the next Nicola. In other words, I would like to start my career at HPE. What opportunities are there, and what are you looking for today?
Yeah. So I would actually love that everyone in the room is our next recruit in HPE, and that is something we really invest in. we are running every year graduate programs, and we do believe in HPE in long-term careers. So people join very early after university or during their studies. We have a lot of interns, and what we support is that you would complete your studies or join us after your studies. You would join in a couple of years university graduate program, and you would start your career with the company. For us, that is really important because we are one of those companies that now we have the 5 ranges of generations, and we need to continue filling the funnel of young talents in our pipeline of talent, because we have also very senior people that we want to transfer the knowledge to younger talents before they go on their pension, let's say.
Indeed.
So this knowledge transfer is part of our culture, and that's why we really invest on having graduate programs in every country, with larger or smaller, depending on the year, but we more or less manage to have this every year in the company.
It's amazing to hear, and I'm sure it's going to be having some practical consequences. So anyone in the room who would like to consider that, I'm sure you should check out hp.com/careers or something like that.
Yes, exactly.
I got that right. Well, that's great. But it's nice to hear also because, you talked about the crucial role that HR has at HP, and when you say things like, we've got several generations working in our company right now, and the knowledge transfer between those that are going to be departing soon and those that we aim to recruit is a really crucial part of our company's success. That's true, and it's also true that when you're a young person and you work at a company that values that kind of knowledge transfer, you're going to benefit a lot as a person too, because you don't get that at every company, that knowledge transfer and the importance of it. So thank you for that, and thank you already for answering my questions. And now I'm sure there's going to be questions in the audience. So if you have a question, raise your hand. I'm going to start right there to the right, and then the gentleman over here. And I know that later on I have to go up top, so we'll do that in a little bit. So we get the mics over there. If you want to raise again your hand, that person that had, and then the second person was in the back, right? That was that person over there. Yeah. So tell us your name and your question, please.
Hello, good evening. My name is Alexandre Cunha, but Alex for short, it's okay. So in the beginning, Ms. Nicola said that the company is dealing with a lot of interracial, intercultural people. So how does it feel? How does it feel speaking, dealing, and hearing a lot of different cultures, and especially experiencing? And has any time has risen some problems due to different beliefs or habits?
Thank you so much. That's a great question. And then the second question over there.
Yes. My name is Eric. First of all, I'd like to say welcome and thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. So I have 2 questions, actually. A little bit ago, you mentioned how you work with different individuals and you all try to meet the same goal. One of the things I believe are not talked about enough is the fact that certain people may try to drag you down or kind of become a problem for you in the company. And I'd like to ask, what was that like, or what is it like, and what did you do to overcome some of these obstacles that follow such adversities?
Great questions. Wow. Thank you to both of you.
I'll give it a go. So, in terms of culture and operating in many different countries and working with many different nationalities and cultures, this diversity, some people like to call it complexity because it's too much for people to navigate through and everything. To my view, this diversity is the beauty of being a global company. And we foster a culture where we respect culture, with different languages, people coming from different races, and that is something that has been the focus of the company for many years, and it is our role as human resources team to advocate for that and foster for that. There are moments that indeed language could be a barrier, but there are ways now with technology to overcome that. I have never felt that this had created an issue per se. also as a company, in order to secure that any biases that are related to different races, even generations, genders, we have a very strong code of ethics, and it is for every leader and every team member to follow that, and we have a very tight process when it comes to compliance to that. The expectations are set really high standard in order to ensure that the company has this respectful culture. It is very diverse. My origin is Greek. I'm actually half Australian as well. My mom is Australian. Our CEO is not an American. The combination of every leadership team is of many different cultures and backgrounds, and that is something that is quite fostered. So I really appreciate your question, and I really understand that, especially for the younger generations, and I see this also with my kids when we talk about things, it is so important that we also, all of us, need to be advocate of that. So
but
that
Nicola,
is how it works.
I mean, like, I almost cannot believe the answer. Like, you know, we've seen so many examples of companies recently where there have been all kinds of problems with different generations living together, with different cultures living together. I mean, like, the big societal issues, political issues, have entered in almost every company in the world. I mean, you stress the point of compliance and of integrity and of respect. Is it really possible that that alone is enough, and that we won't find anyone in the company that sort of says, like, well, I felt like I was discriminated against, or
No, you would find, for
Yeah.
sure. Let me maybe say, I'm not trying to paint a pink picture here,
Yeah.
or that it's paradise. Not at all. What I'm saying is that we foster a culture of respect and inclusivity. We have leadership that is expected, and they are measured on making sure that they foster that with their teams. We have the code of ethics, and we have the processes to secure that this, if someone, let's say, feels not included or feels discriminated, they have somewhere to go to talk about it.
Yeah.
And if they go and raise their issue, there is zero tolerance in retaliation because you raised an issue, and there is the mechanism to address this, either with warning letters of those who had the bad behavior. We have fired people because they were discriminating others. So
But you have the
I'm
process
saying
in
that
place,
we
yeah.
have the ecosystem to support these issues to be addressed.
Yeah. And that's really what you can
Yeah.
expect, and that, of course, leads to better outcomes in most cases. The other question was about, you know, if you do find yourself, you know, working in an environment that's not so pleasant for a boss, how do you deal with that? What's sort of the way to get around it?
Yes, so I believe that you need to learn to manage your boss. And I guess my team does the same with me. But it is true that it does not always happen that you would work with someone that your perspective fit and the chemistry is right. But what you need to do is you need to have a transparent conversation, to set expectations, to understand what is expected from you, what not, and then you give it a try with a clear structure, goal setting, and setting the measures of what does success look like. Now, in large companies, the good thing is that if you try it and it doesn't work out, there are always jobs open internally. You can go and try for another one. So,
Did it ever happen to you, though?
It does. Yes.
And if it happened to you, you know, how did you deal with it yourself? Like, if you recall, you know, did you then leave the company or the boss? Did you, you know, how have you dealt with such situations?
So I can say that the reason I decided to leave my first company was my boss at the time. Maybe I would have stayed longer, but I decided to leave because I realized that she wasn't respecting me.
Wow.
And it was a critical moment in my life where my father was quite sick. And although I was working day and night, I just asked for half a day to be at the hospital for his surgery.
Wow.
And she wouldn't approve that. That was the moment I decided that this is not for me. That is something you cannot rectify. And so I stayed, I found my next job, I moved on. In my current company, there have been moments that I had a manager, we were not looking eye to eye. I thought we should be, driving differently things with a different mindset. She had a different perspective. And so at some point, I talked to people around me, I got advice, a mentor, a coach. They helped me navigate through that period, and then the next opportunity came around. I am still with HPE, she isn't, she left. So if you insist and you like the company and you believe that you can have a career, you need to fight for it. You need to give it a chance. That's what I'm saying.
I find that really, really inspiring. I mean, because you're saying there's a bargain basically, and the bargain is, yes, you will work hard and you will give your best to the company day and night if it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
But the other side of the equation is that you need to be getting respect.
True. Yes.
And if that's not there, then there's also consequences from your side. That's basically the give and take of companies. I really appreciate that.
But you need to activate also your network in the company, and you need to talk to people. So I do mentor a lot of young talents, or they come to me asking for advice because things are not working well with their manager. And that is what I tell them. Although I am the HR leader, I tell them, well, if it's not working for you, you need to move on.
Right.
Because that's your daily life. You need to feel comfortable to get out of bed every day, right? So you need to find the way to make it work. Get all the help you can from people around you. It's okay. It's life, right?
Yeah, no, I think it's great advice, but you are a person who, again, you're soft-spoken, but you're very clear about,
Yes, I do believe that.
About what you want, about what you think is right, and you take decisions, you have consequences. There's really a clear framework, and I really appreciate that. Thank you, Nicola. 2 more questions maybe. In the back we have there, gentleman with the hat, and then is there someone here in the front, and then we'll go to upstairs, so get ready over there.
Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah. My name is Omar, and I want to thank you, first of all, for that beautiful speech. And Peter, like you said twice, you're very soft-spoken, and there's also a truth in your voice that I admire. You brought up in the beginning that you wanted to sail the world. Did you end up following that dream? By the way, I apologize, it's about business, but it's a personal question I want to ask you. Thank you.
Did you hear the question?
Yes.
Yeah. And then we'll have a second question over here.
Well, thank you for that great question and your feedback. I really appreciate it, and it means a lot to me. So I still want to sail the world. I was just watching Vante Globe and what they're doing, and I would not dare to do something so big, but I do try to still sail when we go in the summer in Greece for vacation. And I think that probably that is the top thing on my list when I go in retirement. I hope I will still be fit to do it. But I think
to sail the world, you mean, or to sail?
Yeah. And these are the things that if we have these big things we want to do, of course, life happens and catches up on you. But I would say always have a bucket list of things you want to do and little by little address them.
That's great. The question over here.
Okay, yeah. Hi, I'm Nicholas. My question is more related with, you talked about HP being one of the first startups and all the relation with Silicon Valley. So it's more related to how HP fosters entrepreneurship in the company. How do you see it going in the future? Do you support entrepreneurship inside the companies? And how would you manage that process so that there's no culture clashes as well?
Thank you. And then remember, I'm going to bring the mics upstairs, or ask the kid to go upstairs as well, and we'll have the rest.
Was it about promotion?
About entrepreneurship, I think, right? How do you promote entrepreneurship?
Yeah. Okay, yes.
Oh yeah, you can go ahead, and then we'll go up there when the mics get there.
So this is the key to success for the company, to have people with this entrepreneurial mindset. And we do have every year even a competition where we ask people to come with ideas that we can put in motion and drive business with. That is, I would say, part of our DNA as a company, and I would say every high-tech company maybe have something similar. The other thing is that we also allow our team members, if they feel they can have a second job of their own, they start their own company, as long as it's not in conflict of interest with what we do as a company, they can try it out and gain experience from that. We actually have a colleague in Geneva who has his own video making company, and we have used him, although he works for HPE, to help us make some promotional videos. So it's I think, something we inspire. It comes with some rules, but it's a great skill to develop, and you can bring it in front of your customers and your clients. So we really like to foster that environment.
Thank you so much. And then there's going to be a question right up there, I think. And then is there any final question over here? Anyone? Last question over here again? Okay, great. We'll take the gentleman here in the front as, for the last question. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Chloe Helbling.
You appear a bit to us as God.
As where? Sorry. No, I am introverted by nature.
You're doing great. Keep it up.
Yeah.
I found your story very inspiring because it's quite similar to the ones of my ancestors. My grandfather, Carlos Helbling, he was from Swiss-German ancestry, came from Rapperswil. I'm actually doing a personal project about it right now with the help of some friends. And essentially, he met my grandmother, Anka, or, well, I call her Anka, but her name is Stefani Ankita, and she had to flee from Romania in the Second World War when she was 7 years old, because she, the Holocaust was happening. She actually stayed quite a few months, almost a year, in Geneva, Switzerland, where she was taken in and cared of, her and her family. So my great-grandfather, her father, was a Romanian journalist, and he brought his family there as a means to escape. After, I think it was under a year, the Swiss government told her that they had to go. And so she took a boat. Well, her family, they walked for days. They took a boat from Bilbao in Spain and went on a long 2 to 3 month journey to Buenos Aires, Argentina, where she met my grandfather, Carlos Helbling. And for many years, he was very specialized in this topic, and he always admired and respected Swiss culture as part of his identity, but he wanted to create something new in Argentina and began working, I believe, as a kind of economic governor in Argentina. I'm not sure of the details. I'll have to ask my grandma when I see her. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2017, my grandfather, but he was really well adored by many people. So my question for you is, I guess, coming from a similar background, what challenges and adversity, well, not challenges, but what future strategies would you like to see furthering adversity and diversity in general for all women in Switzerland? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very deep question. And then the last question over here.
Hi, just wanted to close off and say thank you for taking your time again. I kind of admire you, Peter, for the way you have your conversation skills with top leaders. My question is towards your book, actually. How do you see the future of leadership going in the next decade or so, as you have been able to talk to so many top leaders? Thank you, ma'am, again for showing up. I really appreciate it. You have great insight into your practices. That's my final question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Nicola, this doesn't happen normally, that there's a question for the person who asks questions. So I'll quickly
you're in trouble.
I'll quickly answer that, and then if you can think a little bit about the question from up there, because that was a very deep question, and I think it requires a long answer. So thank you for your question, and I really appreciate that all of you, and you in particular, appreciate how we do these series. And I have to say, Nicola, when we talk to people like you, every time we learn a lot. And we learn, of course, about the big things, like artificial intelligence. You talk to us how it actually plays a role and how it makes a difference. But we also learn about small things. And that's one of the things that I've appreciated a lot today, is to learn a lot about sort of the little things in your life and in your career that made a really big difference. And to answer your question, I also am on the side where I believe that as we all get more anxious with technological development, with political change, with climate change, with all these things that basically unsettle us in fundamental ways, that the more important thing, it becomes even more important for us to be human and for us to listen, talk, interact, and if we are in a position of leadership, that we try to be good leaders, as good humans. Thank you for that question. I really appreciate it. And then Nicola, over to you for the question about how to challenge with diversity and diversity.
Well, I want to start by thanking Chloe, I think was the name, for sharing the personal story. That's really moving. I think that from a diversity perspective, be it gender, be it generation, be it preferences, be it race, we are going through an era now that is the right moment, because it is an issue, the issue is on the table, and all the companies want to address it. Some companies more genuinely, some companies just because they need a metric and it makes them attractive. But still, I do believe that now it's the moment, and I see a great diversity in this room, where you need to go for it. And that's the moment where the companies are a little bit more open and more welcoming people with diverse backgrounds. As a female in this corporate environment, I have faced difficult moments. I have been, I think, lucky because I am in a profession, the HR environment is a little bit female-driven.
Sure.
I am always inspired by people like Elizabeth here, who are in the tech environment, females, and that's a more male-driven world, right? But now is the moment to go for this. But you need for yourself to build an infrastructure around you that helps you. So I am very fortunate to have a very supportive family. I have a great husband that is very supportive. My kids grew with Hewlett Packard Enterprise, so they know the nature of work. But I have had moments where it has been difficult, and not so much because I'm female. As a female leader, I had to balance my personal life and priorities. But as a Greek, I can tell you that at the time when a few years ago, Greece was going through huge economical problems, right? And Greece was all over the news. I would travel for work, and all the talk of the town was about Greece creating problems to the economy of the whole of Europe and all of that. And there were leaders internally in the company that would talk down to me because I was Greek.
Wow.
It was tough, right? And you would say that, because you're Caucasian, because you're a woman, this will not apply. It did happen, and you need to feel confident to defend your case. Carefully, professionally, but you need to be prepared that these things will happen. It's not an ideal world out there, but if you feel confident about yourself, the skills and the know-how and the capabilities and what you bring to the table, the value you have, your worth as an individual, that's your starting point, and you should go for it. Don't think about it twice, because we are all worth, and we deserve what we want to go for.
Now, you say you start from the idea, from the conviction of self-worth. This is what you believe about yourself.
Yes.
That sort of grounds you and centers you. Then you say, I have an infrastructure around me, I have a supportive family, I have supportive friends, etc., that make sure that when there is a difficult moment, they are there also to support me through a difficult moment, if there is a case, whether it's fair or unfair, but setbacks. I think that those 2 points are very important. Now, for previous generations at least, which included your generation and probably my generation, there has been discrimination. There has been problems for people to get ahead, and even if they're grounded, and even if they had supportive families, they would still face setbacks. Do you believe that today, as this generation goes into the world, that there is, maybe not everywhere, but that there's companies out there and places out there where they can go and they don't have to worry about that part anymore, the systemic part?
I think we should always be alert, even in our social life. I don't think this can be, it will take years for this to be eliminated. But I think the younger generation should feel that if they face an issue, the companies now are more alert, they're more equipped, they have more processes and ways for you to raise your concern. And if the system works, then you have something to rely on. That's what I'm saying. Yes. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. That would not be pragmatic. I'm just saying that there are ways of addressing that.
Yeah.
And I always like, and maybe that's the last word to share here, I have a leader in HP. We worked together many years, and he's a great coach and a great mentor. And whenever I've been in a difficult moment, he would say, Nicola, you will survive this. And it stays with me, right? You will survive. There are things that, of course, is not about surviving, but then you go through the difficult moments and then you turn them to a great experience. That was, I think.
Wow, and it's also an amazing note to end on. Nicola, thank you so much for sharing all your insights. Thank you to all of you for staying here, for being attentive. And now we all deserved, I think, a nice drink. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it from us. We'll see you all over there. Bye-bye.